Every woman's been told that if she wants to keep a man, she needs to turn him on. But what if I told you that the one thing that makes a man stay has nothing to do with sex, and everything to do with how you make him feel when you're not even trying? When people talk about intimacy in relationships, they often focus on the physical. They think the strongest connection between a man and a woman comes from sex. But the truth is, what most men are starving for, often without realizing it, is emotional safety. It's the feeling that they can show up as they really are, without judgment, without the pressure to impress, and without having to wear a mask. Emotional safety is what allows a man to actually fall for someone on a level far deeper than attraction or desire. It's where true loyalty, commitment, and vulnerability are born. Many men are raised in environments where expressing emotion is seen as weakness. They learn early on to shut down their fears, their sadness, their confusion. They're told to man up, to be tough, to solve problems instead of talking about them. So they build armor. And most relationships they enter, especially early on, never ask them to take it off. In fact, they often reinforce it. They hear things like real men don't cry, or they're mocked when they do open up. So over time, they stop. They stop sharing, they stop trusting, and they keep intimacy at arm's length, even while pursuing physical closeness. But when a woman creates a space where he feels like he's finally allowed to be soft, something incredible happens. He lets his guard down, not because he's weak, but because he finally feels safe enough to be strong in a different way. That moment, that shift, is more powerful than anything physical, because he doesn't just feel turned on, he feels seen. And when a man feels seen, truly seen, it creates a bond that's hard to break. Emotional safety looks like listening to him without jumping to fix him. It's holding space when he's silent, without assuming he's shutting you out. It's knowing when to ask the right questions and when to simply be there. It's being able to say, you don't have to be okay right now. You don't have to have it all figured out. And it's also being strong enough yourself to not take his silence or his struggles personally. Because emotional safety isn't about coddling him. It's about allowing him the room to be human. Most women have the power to offer this, but few realize just how magnetic it truly is. Sex may grab a man's attention, but emotional safety holds it. It gives him something he can't find in the world, a soft place to land, where he feels like he doesn't have to perform, he can just be. And when he finds that in a woman, she becomes more than attractive, she becomes rare. And in today's world, rare is irresistible. Respect is often misunderstood in relationships. It's not just about being polite or admiring someone's accomplishments. For a man, respect is tied directly to his sense of identity, his confidence, and how emotionally safe he feels in a relationship. While many people focus on how to attract a man through looks, charm, or chemistry, the real secret to keeping him deeply connected is showing genuine respect for who he is. Not just when he's winning, but when he's struggling, uncertain, or evolving. A man may not always express it, but he is constantly questioning himself. Am I doing enough? Am I strong enough? Am I capable of leading, of providing, of protecting, of building something meaningful? These internal questions are a quiet but ever-present part of his emotional world. When a woman comes into his life who reflects back to him a belief in who he is and who he is becoming, something powerful shifts. She becomes a mirror, not of his flaws, but of his potential. And that kind of reflection builds emotional intimacy faster than any physical moment ever could. What most men fear is being seen as a failure in the eyes of the woman they care about. They want to feel that she believes in their mission, their values, their ability to overcome hardship. Respect is communicated through how you speak to him, how you speak about him, and how you respond to him in moments when he feels defeated or uncertain. It's not about inflating his ego or praising everything he does. It's about recognizing the effort, the intention, and the desire behind his actions. It's about honoring his growth, not demanding perfection. Men are often drawn to women who inspire them to be better, but what keeps them is a woman who can see them fully now, even before they've arrived at where they want to be. This doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or lowering your standards. It means understanding the difference between a man who's lost and one who's lazy, between someone who's struggling and someone who's settling. Respect is discerning. It says, I see where you're going and I believe you can get there. That belief can ignite motivation in a man in a way that few other things can. When a man feels respected, he becomes more emotionally available. He opens up, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. He wants to share his goals, his doubts, his stories. He wants to make you proud, not just happy. He wants to step into his power because you saw it before he fully did. That kind of respect doesn't just feed his ego, it feeds his soul. It makes you unforgettable. And in a world where attention is easy to give, but deep respect is rare, the woman who offers that becomes the one he holds on to. Men are often seen as creatures driven by ego. They're expected to crave praise, admiration, and validation. And while there is truth to that, everyone wants to feel appreciated. It's not what truly nourishes a man's soul in a relationship. What matters more than ego stroking is purpose. A man's sense of identity is often deeply connected to what he's building, what he's chasing, what he believes he was put on this earth to do. When a woman supports not just the man, but the mission he's devoted to, that's when she begins to matter to him on a different level. There's a difference between being impressed by what a man has and being invested in what he's becoming. Many women get caught up in admiring the surface, his status, his talents, the way he moves through the world, but fail to understand or connect with the deeper purpose driving him. Real intimacy begins when you tap into what he's passionate about, when you show genuine curiosity about the things that give his life meaning. Whether it's his career, his art, his community, or his personal growth, supporting that part of him speaks directly to his core. This kind of support isn't loud. It doesn't look like fixing his problems or constantly telling him he's amazing. It's subtle but powerful. It's the way you ask about the challenges he's facing without judgment. It's how you listen with full presence when he's talking about something he's building, even if you don't fully understand it. It's being the person who reminds him of his why when he's tired or discouraged. That's the kind of connection that deepens his trust, because he starts to feel like you're not just there for the good moments, you're standing beside him in the climb. Supporting his purpose also means allowing him space when he needs it. Men often recharge and realign with their mission in solitude. A woman who takes this personally or tries to interrupt that process often pushes him away. But a woman who understands that his time to focus, create, and regroup is sacred will be seen as someone who gets him in a way few people do. She respects the fact that his purpose isn't a threat to the relationship, it's a part of who he is. And by honoring that, she positions herself as someone who adds value, not pressure. Ego may respond to quick praise, but purpose responds to long-term presence. A man who feels truly supported in what he's passionate about starts to associate that support with emotional safety and love. It builds a foundation of partnership, not performance. He begins to view you not just as a lover or companion, but as someone who's part of the mission, someone whose presence sharpens his vision and strengthens his drive. That level of connection doesn't just keep a man interested, it makes him see the relationship as something sacred, something worth fighting for, protecting, and growing with. Mystery has a power that most people underestimate, especially in relationships. In a world where everything is instant replies, instant attraction, instant validation, the people who hold back just a little, who keep something of themselves reserved, become magnetic. For a man, Fascination doesn't come from knowing everything about a woman right away. It grows when there are layers to her, when she keeps him slightly curious, slightly guessing, slightly reaching, when she's not always available, not always predictable, not always responding the same way. She becomes someone who stands out in a world full of sameness. Mystery isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding that revealing everything too quickly removes the need for discovery. And men by nature are drawn to the chase, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that reflects a desire for meaningful pursuit. A woman who maintains her individuality, her own interests, her own space, becomes deeply attractive because she signals that her world doesn't revolve around the man. That independence invites curiosity. It makes a man ask questions like, where is she going? What's she thinking? What drives her? That curiosity becomes emotional momentum. When you're not always available, not always texting back immediately, not always rearranging your life to fit his, it forces him to recognize your value. It communicates that your time is valuable, that your attention must be earned, and that you have a life that fulfills you outside of the relationship. That kind of energy is rare, and it makes a man lean in rather than pull away. He begins to see you not as someone to conquer and then forget, but someone worth understanding on a deeper level. Mystery also comes from emotional control. When you don't reveal every feeling, every fear, every expectation too quickly, you create a space where he has to engage more intentionally. He has to work to understand you, to learn how you communicate, to figure out what matters to you most. That effort creates investment. He becomes part of a journey rather than just a destination. And in that process, he begins to form a stronger emotional connection because he feels like he's discovering something real, something layered, complex, and beautiful. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who knows her worth so deeply that she doesn't feel the need to constantly explain herself, prove herself, or seek constant validation. She moves with quiet confidence. She lets people wonder. She lets moments breathe. And in doing so, she builds emotional tension, the good kind, the kind that keeps a man intrigued, focused, and motivated to get closer. That space between what is known and what is yet to be known is where attraction truly grows. It's not about being distant. It's about being intentional with your presence and even more intentional with your absence. When you live with that kind of energy, you don't just attract someone for a moment. You keep them wondering, exploring, and wanting to go deeper. There's a difference between being attractive and being unforgettable. Many women are taught that to hold a man's attention, they need to be accommodating, easygoing, and always willing to please. But what actually makes a man fall hard, what makes him respect, admire, and stay committed, is a woman with strong standards. A woman who doesn't bend just to keep him interested, but who knows exactly what she wants, what she deserves, and what she will never tolerate. That energy commands attention without ever having to beg for it. Men may chase what's easy for a moment, but they commit to what challenges them in a meaningful way. A woman with standards becomes a mirror, reflecting back to him the kind of man he wants to be. She doesn't need to lecture or criticize. Her very presence raises the bar. She lives in alignment with her values, and that integrity is something men recognize, even if they can't immediately explain why. She doesn't accept bare minimums. She doesn't reward inconsistency. She doesn't justify poor behavior. And because of that, she makes it clear that access to her is a privilege, not a right. Standards are not about being difficult or cold. They're about self-respect. They say, I value myself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't honor who I am. And when a woman carries herself that way, it creates a healthy pressure in a relationship. It forces a man to show up, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and consistently. He can't get by with charm alone. He has to bring substance. He has to think. He has to act with intention. That shift moves the relationship from surface level attraction to deeper respect. The strongest standards are often quiet. They're not about dramatic ultimatums or loud declarations. They're seen in how she responds to red flags, in how she calmly distances herself from confusion, in how she doesn't compete for attention or lower her expectations to keep a man close. This subtle strength makes her rare, and in a world full of people willing to settle, rarity is magnetic. Holding strong standards also creates space for the right man to rise. It filters out the ones who aren't serious, who aren't ready, who aren't capable of emotional maturity. It protects her energy from being drained by someone who only wants the version of her that's easy to access. And instead, it draws in the man who wants to grow, who values accountability, who sees her as a partner, not a project, not a prize, but a woman to build something real with. Standards are not about controlling someone else's behavior. They're about controlling your own boundaries. They're about protecting your peace, your energy, your joy. And when a man meets a woman who lives by that truth, he feels something different. Not just attraction, but admiration. Not just desire, but respect. Because in her strength, he sees stability. In her boundaries, he sees value. And in her self-respect, he finds the motivation to become the kind of man who's worthy of staying. There's a reason people can have amazing chemistry and still feel completely empty in a relationship. Chemistry might bring two people together, but it's connection that holds them there. Chemistry is instant. It's that spark, that physical pull, that magnetic attraction that makes your heart race. But it doesn't last on its own. If there's no deeper bond being built underneath the excitement, that heat eventually fades. Real connection is what makes a man look at a woman and think, I don't just want her, I feel at home with her. That's the difference between someone you're drawn to and someone you want to build a life with. For a man, connection means being accepted without judgment. It's being able to express what he's afraid of, what he dreams of, and what he's still figuring out without feeling small or inadequate. That kind of space doesn't happen by accident. It's built through presence, curiosity, and emotional honesty. It's not about constant deep talks or dramatic vulnerability. It's the quiet ways you show you care, the way you remember something he said in passing, the way you listen when he's not even sure how to say what he feels. That's where connection grows, in the small, real, human moments. Connection is also about being aligned in values, not just passion. You can have the most intense chemistry with someone and still feel like you're speaking different emotional languages. When a woman connects with a man on a level that includes shared beliefs, mutual respect, emotional intelligence, and vision for the future, she taps into something long-lasting. A man feels safe when he senses he's with someone who understands not just what he wants now, but where he's going next. That sense of being understood makes him open up more, trust more, and invest more emotionally. Many people chase the high of passion because they've never experienced the depth of real connection. But when a man feels a genuine connection with a woman, he begins to crave her presence, not just her body. He wants her insight, her opinions, her energy. He finds himself thinking about her not only in moments of desire, but in moments of doubt, excitement, fear, and growth. She becomes part of his inner world. That's a level of intimacy that no amount of physical attraction can replace. True connection doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for truth. It asks for realness. It's two people who are willing to be seen, not just in their strength, but in their softness. And for a man who is often taught to suppress that softness, finding a woman who sees him and still chooses him is rare. Chemistry can make him chase, but connection, that makes him stay. It makes him try. It makes him better. Because when he feels connected, he doesn't just see a partner, he sees home. And there's nothing more attractive, more comforting, or more powerful than that. When you strip away the surface, beyond the attraction, beyond the chase, beyond the game, what truly captures a man's heart isn't sex, beauty, or the perfect words. It's how you make him feel, not just in moments of passion, but in moments of quiet. When he's unsure, when he's growing, when he's searching for something real. A man doesn't stay for pleasure alone. He stays for peace, for purpose, for connection, for respect, for the woman who doesn't just touch his body but reaches into his soul. So forget trying to impress him with what you think he wants. Give him what he didn't even know he needed. Give him emotional safety. Give him belief. Give him mystery, strength, depth, and standards. And most of all, give him you. Whole, grounded, and impossible to forget. That's what keeps a man coming back. Not for a night, but for a lifetime.